All right, so guys, on this subtopic, we'll be talking about the base and the quote currencies. On our previous class, we made a discussion about the base and the quote currency. We talked about it a little bit. So if you have not watched that video, I highly recommend that you go back, pause this video right now, go back to the other one and watch it before coming back to this one. All right. So then you're going to get a full understanding of what the base and the quote currency is after this lesson. All right. So now I made mention that forex trading must involve two currencies where one have to be the base currency while the other will be quoted, right? Example, you have your euro to the US dollar, you have your US dollar to the Japanese yen. This actually means that the euro here is the base currency while the US dollar is the quote currency, right? So the US dollar in this case here is the base currency while the Japanese yen is the quoted currency. Now, there is the body responsible for the coding of this currency is known as the International Organization Standardization. So the body responsible for the coding of this currency are known as the International Organization Standardization, right? The ISO, right? Now, they are the people that are responsible for giving this particular currency, the code, like the euro to USD, the USD to Japanese yen. They are the ones that gave them this code. That means it is generally accepted by every forex trader that come into the market that you must pronounce it this way. You must pronounce it as the euro to the US dollar, and you must pronounce it as the US dollar to the Japanese yen. You cannot come and say Japanese yen to US dollar. You cannot get this pair, like this pair, Japanese yen to US dollar. Of course, you don't really need it because it's still the same thing. It's still almost the same. Sure, it's the same thing because if you're buying the market, you're siding the US dollar. If you're selling the market, you're also siding the Japanese yen. So it's still the same thing. You cannot see anywhere that this code will be represented as JPY USD. Do you understand what I mean? It is a fixed code that it is fixed that it must represent, it must appear this way. It must appear this way USD JPY, and it must appear this way Euro USD. You cannot see USD Euro. I don't know if you understand what I mean. It's a fixed code. The body responsible for the fixing of this code are called the International Organization Standardization, right? Now, these people, they fix this code in the way that the first two letters of the pair represents the country name, while the last letter represents the currency, right? For example, the US dollar to the Japanese yen. US represents United States, while D represents dollar. All right. The same way, JP represents Japanese, while Y represents the yen. These two first letter here represent the country, while the third letter represents the dominant currency that the country is using. You understand? These first two letter represent the country, while the third letter represents the currency, the first letter of the currency the country is using, right? So the same way, the JP represents the Japanese, while the Y here represents the yen. That means the Japanese people are using the currency that is called yen. So that is why if you want to pronounce this pair here, you call it USD Japanese yen. I mean United States dollar to the Japanese yen, right? So that is that. Just remember that the first two letters represent the country, while the third letter represents the dominant currency of the country, right? Now, the rate of this each code represent the value of the base currency in the quoted currency denomination, right? Now, let me just give you this. This is where it gets a little bit confusing, right? Now, the rate of each code represent the value of the base currency in the quoted currency denomination. The rate of each code represents the value of the base currency in the quoted currency denomination. The value of the base currency, that is what I want you to pick out from this whole thing, right? The value of the base currency. Now, if you see a a rate like this. You see USD JPY and you see 131.886. It means that the rate of this, the value of this base currency, which is the US dollar, in the Japanese yen denomination is 131.886. That means for you to get $1 in the Japanese currency, you need 131.886 Japanese yen. The same way in USD NGN, USD to Naira, for you to get this rate now, it means that the value of the US dollar is represented in the denomination of naira. That means for you to get $1, you need 745 naira to get $1, right? The rate of each code represents the value of the base currency. So whenever you see a code like this, you see a rate like this, just know that what they're trying to tell you is that the value of this in this, right? The value of Japanese yen in dollar, the value of naira in dollar, the value of naira in dollar, the value of Japanese yen in dollar. All right, that's what this rate is all about. You understand? That is what comes about this rate. So as we move further into the advanced class, I'm going to be unfolding these things practically on the graph, so you see it practically on your screen, right? So for now, just have it at the back of your mind that this code are represented, the rate of the code are represented, it represent the base currency's value in the quoted currency denomination, right? So that is that for the base and the quoted currency, right? Let's move over to the subtopic that we have for the day, which is the time. Okay, guys, on this next section of this class, we'll be talking about the uh forex trading time in GMT, right? Because I'm in Nigeria, so our time is GMT plus one. So I refer my time in GMT and then just add 1 hour. So the forex market is open 24/7, right? The forex market is always open 24/7. But due to the fact that the banks closes on Saturdays and Sundays and they open on Mondays, that makes forex to pause during the weekend. Forex do usually pause during the weekend and then open back on Sunday night, right? Against Monday morning, right? So the forex trading time that we have are just three section, right? Sometimes people say it's four section, but me personally, I take I just classify it into three sections, which is the London section, the New York section, and the Asian section. Now, the Asian section comprises of the Sydney and the Tokyo section, right? The Sydney section begins by 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock, right? Is it? I don't really trade this section, right? So the Sydney section begins by 9 o'clock, and the Tokyo section begins by 11 o'clock, while the London section begin by 7 o'clock, and the New York section begins by um, 12 o'clock. So this is the time in GMT. So if you're in Nigeria, you just need to add 1 hour to this time, right? So let's say you're trading, if you want to be trading the London section, right, and you're in Nigeria, and the London sections begin GMT starts by 7. So if you're in Nigeria, you just need to start looking at your chart by 8 o'clock, right? Because it's GMT plus one we are using in our country, not GMT, right? So if you want to be trading the London section, you should be seated on your chart by 8 o'clock and start making analysis. If you want to be trading the New York section, you should be seated on your chart by 12:01, right, and start making your analysis. And now, out of all these sections, the section that have the highest volatility are the London section and the New York section, right? Depending on the currency you're trading. But the London section and the New York section have the highest volatility in the forex market. So preferably all traders like to trade this section. They like to trade the London section and the New York section. So if you're a trader and you want to make money in the market real quick, so you should be looking to take trade between 7 o'clock in the morning and uh 1 o'clock in the afternoon, right? So the New York session ends by 8 o'clock in the night. So you just need to look between those time and program your trading activities between those times, so you don't sit in your chart for the whole day, because that would be a proper waste of time. So you just need to program yourself between the London and the New York section. That are